Well, hello there, folks, and welcome to the Thursday edition of the Whitfield Report. I'm your host, Sam Whitfield, recording here at NGC Studios for Thursday evening, which is hopefully when you're hearing this, and I'm actually recording this in GarageBand on my Mac because the iPad system isn't quite working for me tonight for some reason, but that's okay. We're still, going here, and I haven't used GarageBand to record a podcast in a long time, but so far everything's going well. I actually have the right, settings, and the EQ is actually pretty good. So my audio levels are coming in good, so that's all that matters. And obviously I've added the intro music in, beforehand. But at any rate, it is Thursday, another week coming to a close, and it is January 30th, so next time I talk to you guys on Saturday, it will officially be February, so how about that? Already 1 month down in the new decade, ladies and gentlemen, and it's kind of been a mixed bag. I think we can all agree. The year started off great, and then, depending on how you look at it, I don't think it's been horrible, but, definitely there's been some tragedy. And if you're a bleak person, then this month has been really shitty. Obviously, Neil Peart passed away 3 weeks ago. It hasn't even been a full month now. And I'm still broken up about that. Kobe Bryant also passed away, which I'll talk a bit about Kobe. Obviously great athlete, great basketball player. I was never really a big fan of, it's not that I wasn't a fan of Kobe or the Lakers. I've just never been a big, basketball, pro basketball fan to begin with. But I can certainly appreciate the people who are mourning for him because, like I said, the Neil Peart death hit me pretty hard. And, I'd like to think that, even the people who aren't necessarily Rush fans, I'd like to think that they were still, empathetic for those of us who are Rush fans and who are fans of Neil's drumming. So there's that. But I want to talk a bit about this coronavirus thing. And also, I'd like to say that if I'm going to have the coronavirus, I would I would like it with some Lyme disease as well. And I can't take credit for that. That comes from, Jason Veely of On Tap podcast, formerly the host of Factor Talk Radio on Junior Factor Nation, my old colleague. Yes, and we know all about Jason. You've only mentioned him like 50,000 fucking times on the podcast, but when are you going to have him on? Is what the people at home are asking. And well, folks, we don't have a date yet because Jason and I both love to procrastinate, but we are planning on that sometime. Like, he's got an IRL job, I've got an IRL job, and school and whatnot. He's planning for a wedding, and I'm out there looking for love, single, hopeless romantic that I am. But we will have him on at some point, and his brother. We'll do a Junior Factor Nation reunion at some point this year, hopefully. Knock on wood. But anyway, yeah, he's the one who came up with the title for tonight's episode, so credit goes to him. So I've just got to write about this coronavirus real quick, which, I mean, where do I begin? At this point, I'm not even really panicked. I'm just, at this point, folks, I'm annoyed more than anything because this happens every 2 or 3 years, it seems like now, where there's some deadly virus. The last big one was Zika, and then I think the one before that got a big scare was Ebola, which everyone was saying that we were going to be shitting our brains out and dying horrific deaths because of Ebola. And obviously it represents a danger, these viruses do and whatnot, but the media on both sides, of course, loves to sensationalize these viruses or plagues and make them bigger than they're out to be. Obviously it's a tragedy that 6,000 people in China are infected, right? My heart goes out to them. That is bad news for China. But the way that some of the news publications are covering this, you would think that 6,000 numbers some ginormous astronomical number, which I mean, I guess in a way it is, because 6,000 is a lot of people, but when you look at China's population, which I think it's in the billions. In fact, let me look that up real quick. This is the one good thing using a full-blown computer is I can actually search Chinese population 2019. Okay, let's just go there. Okay, as of November 2019, China's population stands at 1.435 billion people, according to Wikipedia. And I'm getting other numbers similar to that. So, it's over 1 billion people alone. Okay, so yeah, 6,000 people obviously isn't good, but it's a lot smaller of a population center than some of the outlets might have people believe. And I bring that up because here's what always happens. It's a giant hysteria machine, and both sides honestly are doing this, and it drives me kind of crazy. That this is one of the reasons why I've kind of like, as I've explained before, folks, I have one foot like in the political pool still, kind of, but like I'm out of the game too, and this is like one of the reasons why, because again, things like coronavirus get spinned out of proportion, and we're told that the world is going to end, and that everyone needs, that this is like going to be the big thing, and that, oh my God, we're all going to die, and it could be like, it could be utilized as a bioweapon, which actually, like, I've actually heard that from like a couple of sources. Granted, one of them is InfoWars. It could be true. Like I've heard all sorts of different things. Like I've heard it's biological weapons. I've heard that, it comes from bats, monkeys, etc. Like there are a whole bunch of rumors about coronavirus. And I'm not going to go into the specifics, but the bottom line is that there's a certain percentage of, people out there who love to just, they love misery, and they actually like love being scared. Like that's how they, I guess, get off. And that's kind of the route that Owen Benjamin has gone, now, come to think of it. Where, like, all of the fear and all of the conspiracies are just there, for the taking. And they love to perpetuate them. And they love to, spread panic and fear. So anytime a major plague, or potential disaster shows up, that's it. We're all goners. Say your prayers. It's like they have a death wish or something, and like, I'll admit, like I'm one of these guys where like, if I focus on it enough for like too long, it's not that I won't believe it necessarily, but I'll start to get paranoid a little bit myself. Like if you hang out with nothing but conspiracy theorists and whatnot, like everything becomes a conspiracy, right? And like I said, I'm not necessarily like bashing Alex Jones, because he's actually been like, right about some stuff in the past few years, and like I said the last episode, he is kind of starting to like, mend his ways from that. So like, I'm not talking to him specifically, but I'm more or less like talking at like your average everyday, person on social media and whatnot, who just obsesses over conspiracies to the point where it's unhealthy. Or worse yet, they do this shit in person and it just drags a whole entire room down. Now, look, here's the thing. There is like a very, very small percentage that we could all be fucked. And coronavirus, could kill us all. In which case, if that were to happen, like, like shit, if I have to die young, like I would rather, and if I have to die of that, like I would rather die of like, I don't know, I would rather die like, getting my face, like suffocated by like some Russian hooker and like her fake, like, her fake giant titties. Like, that's how I want to go out if I have to fucking, go out early. Like, or, something like the way Hugh Hefner might have gone out. I don't know. Just, something along those lines. I'm not into all this, like dying a slow, painful death of, plague shit. Lord knows I've already had enough struggles, getting here to planet Earth like 25 years ago. I'd like to go out in a better way if I have to go out young. Obviously, I plan on living into a ripe old age and whatnot, but all that aside, yeah, so I'm not into the whole, fear-mongering of coronavirus or any of these viruses. So, what do? I parody it. Here's what started the exchange between Jason and I. It wasn't really an exchange. He commented on a status update I made on Facebook. I was originally going to title this podcast, if I prefer the Guinness virus over the coronavirus. Again, corny dad joke, but I mean, yeah, Jason nailed it with the side of Lyme disease. Perfect. And there are some of us who like to joke about stuff like that. There are some of us who like to troll. Like, I wouldn't even say it was trolling. I just, I made like a corny dad joke about it, right? And that was the extent of it. But believe it or not, and this happened like back in 2012 too, with the whole Mayan calendar thing. There are always people who message me either on Facebook or on Twitter, and you should take this shit, seriously. And like, they're not being trolls about it. Like, they're legit being serious about it. And that's what, like I said, pisses me off, is when there are the nutcases who, who go that far and, ruin it. And then, before you know it, like, you're part of a global conspiracy to like help the end of the world. And, also you're part of a conspiracy to murder some, comedians, kids. Supposedly that's what being over paranoid will do to people, as I have unfortunately found out over the past couple of years. So yeah, bottom line, just don't take shit on the internet too seriously with these viruses. We'll be fine, ladies and gentlemen. Like, give it 3 months in the in this shit. We'll be laughing about it in a couple months, maybe. Or maybe we'll all be dead. I don't know. Either way, I know how I'm going out. So, at least I've got that covered. So, it's also kind of funny though, because for my birthday, my dad got me a pair of AirPods Pros, and they were originally supposed to be a Christmas / birthday present, because Christmas and my birthday ran, so far behind, they run so close together. He wasn't able to get them for Christmas, and he ordered them for my birthday. And the AirPod Pros are so they're so back ordered, ladies and gentlemen, and I've actually been in Twitter conversations with some of you guys about this, but they're so back ordered that they're not coming in until like I don't know. I think the last time I checked on my order was like February 19th or February 18th. Hopefully they'll come a little bit before then, because I can't wait to try these things out. I have the first generation AirPods, and I love them. They're getting to the point now where the case is basically going, the charging case. So I can't charge the right one for some reason. The left one does fine, but the right one never wants to hold the charge. And yeah, I mean, I've at this point sending it into Apple, it would actually cost me more money to fix it. So I don't know. But anyway, I'm excited about the AirPod Pros, and now, like this past week, people have been goofing on me, being like, oh, the Foxconn factory where they get manufactured is going to, get coronavirus. And I'm like, fuck, that's all I need. Another delay on my, AirPod Pros. That's what I wanted for Christmas and my birthday, and knock on wood, they do come soon. Although I did get a new MacBook Pro for Christmas, so and my birthday, so I'm not complaining, which is what I'm recording this on. So but nevertheless, I'd like my AirPod Pros as soon as possible and without coronavirus. So there's that. Bottom line with the whole coronavirus thing is we're going to be fine, I think. And if we aren't, oh well, I'm not panicking yet. Oh, what else do we have on the docket? I kind of covered Kobe Bryant passing away. And like I said, I'm not the biggest. I was never really like a fan of Kobe Bryant, and or the Lakers. To be honest, like I'm not a big fan of pro basketball really at all to begin with. But like I said, I empathize for the for the people that lost him. I do feel bad. It's not that I don't feel bad for him passing, because I do, but I feel worse, if this makes sense, that his 14-year-old daughter died in that crash with him. Like, she was just a kid, and I mean, it's awful that they both passed away, but it's especially awful that she passed away at such an early age. It reminds me of I had a classmate in middle school who our 8th grade year actually died in a car crash coming home from an alternative, like, Halloween type celebration. He was a devout Christian and had gone to like some alternative event at his church for Halloween, and his older brother, something, was like 17. He went to, they went to the church with a few friends. Everyone had a great time. They were, I guess, driving, and on their way home, and they got hit by a car, and weirdly enough, no one else in the car hit but my friend. His name was Dallas. Dallas's head, I guess, hit like the front seat, like they were in a sedan or something, and I guess his head like hit the front seat headrest and then bounced back, and he was wearing his seatbelt. I guess like that scrambled his brain, and long story short, he tragically passed away. No one else in the car was hurt. The driver that hit them was drunk, but he wasn't, really hurt either. And like that one was tough. And, I've actually been thinking a little bit about that, kind of in relation to, Kobe Bryant's daughter passing away so young. You just never know when your time is up, folks. And, that's why I always do my best, although I'm not perfect. I always try my best to be good to people. Including you guys who make up this, listening audience, and, who come on the live streams and, blah, 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 blah. Obviously, I have my haters and whatnot, but, even to you guys, I mean, at the end of the day, I'll try and be decent to you too, I guess. Rest in peace to Kobe Bryant, I guess, and rest in peace to his daughter. I'm glad that people are not only paying tribute to, Kobe, but also to his daughter as well. The one other thing I kind of want to rant about real quick in relation to that is there are a lot of people who I've seen on social media. Again, this is a problem with social media. There were rape accusations, made towards like Kobe Bryant a few years ago that didn't pass, that never like checked out, but they've always kind of like been there. Nothing to the level of, Clinton-esque or Harvey Weinstein or anything like that. But there were rumors, and, now those are resurfacing as well. And this actually got me thinking today on my way home from class as I was kind of thinking out what I was going to be talking with this podcast. It's weird because we've talked about on this show and on the live streams about how the Me Too movement started as a good thing, but then it went too fucking far, and this is an example of it going too far. Like Kobe Bryant is literally dead, and yet we have people, trying to Me Too him and, bring those rape allegations up again. They probably aren't true, if they are, that sucks. But the man can't even defend himself. And, that people also asked if I ever saw that Michael Jackson, documentary, like Escaping Neverland, or, whatever it's called. Basically, supposedly revealing the truth about Michael Jackson. And here's what I'll say about that. When I was a kid, I have to admit that Michael Jackson kind of gave me the willies a bit. I'm not gonna lie, because by the time most millennials were born, unless the really old millennials that were born in 85 or something, the oldest of us, I guess, unless you're kind of from that period of being a millennial, most of us grew up with Michael Jackson when he did the complete when he basically bleached his entire skin, and had that weird plasticky look, and that was kind of quasi jokerish, basically there's no nice way of putting this, but Michael Jackson was kind of a freak by the time he came into my conscience. And so obviously the dude gave me the willies. I remember when the trial happened, way back in 2004, that was kind of when I was starting to get into current events a little bit. As I mentioned before, I kind of started, young on that whole train. And that was the first, I actually talked to a few friends about this. Other friends of mine remember that trial. That was kind of the first, big, legal event that we remember, as kids. And, that was a whole thing. But again, that was 15 years ago. Probably more than that by now. Probably more 16 or 17 now that now that I think about it. It's been a long time since that trial happened. And yeah, I mean there's always been speculation that he really did molest kids or something like that. But here's the deal. I don't have any interest in watching that documentary because I'm kind of what's the point? The man's dead. If he did it and he really did molest children, he's probably rotting in a special circle of hell right now. Maybe not. Maybe he atoned before he died. Who knows? So my whole thing is, what's the point of dragging that shit up after he's dead? There's not you can't really prove anything. I guess unless the families want money or something, which yeah, I answered my own question there. Of course that's why they would want. But even so, what would that fix at this point? That's what I'm wondering. Would that be worth it? And bottom line, whether it's Kobe Bryant or, Michael Jackson, or I remember there were like allegations after Hugh Hefner died that he, went like a little too far with some of the playmates, which those got debunked like, pretty close, but, pretty soon after. But, even afterwards, like, can we, like, do we have to desecrate the dead? Like, always. Like, yeah, people fuck up in life. And yeah, people, sometimes people do more than fuck up. Sometimes people do horrible, horrible things in their lives. But are we forever destined just to desecrate the dead on social media now? Because it feels like that's where we're going. And, I don't like it. I've lived like a pretty decent life. I've made mistakes like everyone else. But, imagine like if I died and then someone manufactured like a whole messed up story about me or something. And suppose they made it like extremely convincing. Like, yeah, like eventually it might get proved that it didn't happen, but still, there's no way I can defend myself. My family would be traumatized by that. It's a whole thing, and that's kind of why political media, ladies and gentlemen, gets tiresome for me sometimes. Like, there's parts that I enjoy to it still, doing media commentary and, current events in politics, right? And you've heard me discuss those. But then, there are these like, seedier elements, I guess, kind of that, have just kind of gotten to me over the years, and I can only stomach so much. So that's why I kind of like doing these off-the-cuff podcasts more and more and more. So, and I think a lot of people are actually kind of feeling that way. So, I'm not the only, kind of political podcaster who has kind of moved away from this anymore. So, anyway, so that kind of concludes my whole ranting about all this stuff. Now let's get into some reviews, ladies and gentlemen, shall we? This isn't really like a review of sorts. Well, I mean, I guess it kind of is, depending on how you look at it. But 3 months ago or so, in November, Disney Plus got released and launched as a platform. I reviewed it then, as did several other podcasts, pretty much every other pop culture, podcast and their mother. And at the time, I said that I really liked it. And, granted, it had a few bugs at launch, but overall, I liked it. And I said that I was going to be doing, reviews. Like, I did a review after the first month. I said I'd be doing a review, after 3 months, which is where we're at now. And, I'll do a review probably, in 3 more months for the 6-month review. And then, I'll do one at the end of, the first year once November rolls back around. And, I mean, yeah, I realize we're, a little bit past the 3-month period, so it's not quite 3 months. I know that there's some of you guys out there who are going to be really, it's not 90 days, Sam. You fucked up. You missed it. It's like 90 and some odd days. Yeah. I mean, for all intents and purposes, folks, this is the 3-month review. So, without further ado, well, honestly, I've been so busy with school this semester and whatnot that I really haven't had much of a chance to watch much of anything, really. Or I haven't had a chance to watch as much as I'd like to. But slowly but surely I've been working my way through some of the some of the Disney Plus catalog, mainly in the Marvel, in the Marvel category, or the Marvel library, I guess. I've been working through like Spider-Man the animated series and like the old X-Men cartoon from the 90s, which those shows are really fun and good to watch, like especially as a kid that grew up watching them like in the late 90s and early 2000s, like those things were great, still are. Boy, though, you can tell they're from the 90s if for no other reason than the resolution and the aspect ratio on some of these cartoons, it's not bad, but well, let me just say this: if you're going to watch like the old Spider-Man cartoon and the old like X-Men cartoon, and I really recommend this. But if screen ratios are going to be like a big, like if it's going to be like a problem for you, I would recommend actually watching either those shows or like really any of like the early animated shows on your mobile phone, really, which I never recommend doing because obviously everyone knows that like watching like shows long term on like a mobile device sucks. Like, yeah, maybe watching YouTube videos and whatnot for a short period of time, that's one thing, but no one wants to watch videos. But let me just put it this way: like, I have a Mac. Well, first off, my Mac can do 4K video if I wanted to, right? But even if it didn't, like, most people these days have a pretty good display on their computers or on their TVs by now. And to put it bluntly, the 90s cartoons, they don't transfer well. I mean, you can blow it up a bit and go full screen, but like, you're going to notice every single flaw. So that's not, and like, I'm not really even sure if that's like a critique of Disney Plus. Like, it's not a criticism, it's just something I've noticed. Part of me wishes they would, update the resolution and whatnot to all the old cartoons. Part of me kind of finds like the fact that they've left those unmolested to kind of be like, nostalgic, and it reminds me of like back when everyone used to, watch those cartoons on like, the big kind of square plastic box, TV sets that kind of, predated like, flat screens and whatnot. So, anyway, very cool. As far as the upcoming live series goes, well, we'll get into that in a bit. So I've been watching the animated shows; those are cool. I've been catching up on some of the Marvel movies. I went back and I rewatched the Infinity Saga. I've rewatched the Captain America movies. I haven't really watched the Iron Man movies from beginning to end. I did watch Iron Man 3 way back when I first got the service, because believe it or not, I actually never saw Iron Man 3 when it came out. And that was the one where a lot of people were yeah, don't go see that one. But, that was back before people really knew how big. I mean, the MCU was already a thing, but it was still kind of developing. And so, I saw that one and it was good. The live action stuff is really good quality as far as filming and whatnot. So, that's pretty good. Star Wars, I need to watch the actual movies on Disney Plus, because supposedly they've done another remaster, but they took out some of the ridiculous stuff from the special editions. So I still have to watch those. Obviously I loved The Mandalorian. That was pretty good. I haven't watched the Clone Wars series all the way through yet. I know that actually that's technically not done, I guess. I started watching the Clone Wars when they were on Netflix, and then it got taken off and put onto Disney Plus, and I never really finished watching them. I guess I will one of these days, but honestly, the Clone Wars with Ahsoka and whatnot, and I know that that's going to be a very unpopular opinion, but I've always had trouble watching those, and part of the reason being is because when I grew up, there was an old 2D animated Clone Wars series that some of you guys, I know that some of you guys will definitely remember this one, but if any of you guys were a fan of Samurai Jack on Cartoon Network when we were kids, and I know I was, you will probably no doubt know that Gandhi Tartakovsky, or whatever his name is, I think that's how you pronounce it, also did a 2D Clone Wars series over the course of 3 years in between episodes 2 and 3, that that basically told the stories that told the story of the Clone Wars, and it was a perfect bridge between episodes 2 and 3 when I was a kid, and then we had episode 3, and that was that. So that's what I grew up with, and then when they when they made the Clone Wars into a 3D thing and introduced Ahsoka, yeah, I understood it, but I understood why Lucas did that at the time. But I feel the 2D one has kind of been overlooked, and it was a good series. Still is. I wish I would have that on there, but evidently they don't. At least I don't think they do. But now I'm tempted to go look. I've got to be honest. Okay. Disney. Okay, folks. Okay. Log in. Okay. Oh shoot, did I? No, I never. I subscribed through my Apple ID, that's right. Sorry for the dead air, ladies and gentlemen. You know what? Let me actually just go on the app here on my phone and see. It's not like this is a visual podcast anyway. So again, apologies for the dead air. Okay. Okay, there. This is interesting. I haven't really used the app on like my actual phone that much. While we're talking about this, I will say that one of the things that I like about Disney Plus overall is the fact that their app, like in terms of the layout and whatnot, folks, is actually like pretty damn good. I will say that. Okay. Um. Okay, so I was right. They don't actually have the Clone Wars series from like 2002, I think it was, to like 2004 on here, which is a bummer because they should. But like overall, the Star Wars second, like, it's good, but to me at least it still leaves some to be desired. I don't know. Obviously they're expanding the universe, so I know that they're going to be doing some stuff. And I am excited for the Kenobi series, actually. That is one thing I want to talk about. But overall, I do like the layout of Disney Plus. The service is, pretty, it had its bugs at launch, but it's pretty stable, for now. Don't really have any complaints as far as like functionality and whatnot. I will say this, it's a lot better than the Hulu app, which in my mind still needs kind of like redesign and whatnot, which is why I don't use Hulu, but oh well. Like the service itself is pretty good. The platform, I should say, is pretty good. Now, as far as the content, well, content that depends on where, we're looking at. I will say that what they have, like as far as the Star Wars stuff and the Marvel stuff, which is what I focus on, it's good. We have everything that should be there. Like I already own like a lot of Star Wars stuff. Like I own the movies like physically. So, I don't need them in digital, but it's cheaper than the digital box set. And I do like the fact that like I can now pull up Star Wars movies up on my, MacBook, like if I'm traveling or something like that, or on my iPad or, whatever I have, and just like, watch my favorite movies on the go. I like that. Like I just said, I'm warming up to the Clone Wars series, and, I've heard that Rebels is pretty good too. Still need to get into that. Like as far as content for what we have so far is, pretty good. Obviously the Mandalorian is, pretty good. But there's still a lot to be desired, I guess, is what I'm saying, as far as Star Wars goes. Lots of like original content. Same with Marvel. Now, Marvel is an interesting case because I've got to be honest, like I'm a little nervous about Marvel's future on Disney Plus. And part of it has to do with licensing rights, and there's nothing I can do about that. So, this is just going to be me bitching. But as I've said in previous podcasts, the Marvel Netflix TV shows, Daredevil, and The Punisher, and Jessica Jones, most specifically. Forget Iron Fist, forget The Defenders, and forget Luke Cage. Especially forget Iron Fist. Those three shows were terrible. But The Punisher, Jessica Jones, and Daredevil, those were, and those are, in my opinion, and in the opinion of a lot of people, that's the definition of like what like that's how you make a damn good comic book TV show, especially Daredevil. In fact, it's been a few years, so maybe in a future episode, or maybe like in a bonus episode, or something. If I've got to post one, maybe I'll do like a review of the Daredevil Netflix series. But the Daredevil Netflix series is like a masterpiece of like what a superhero TV show, should be. And the Punisher and Jessica Jones are not quite as good, but they're pretty damn close. Like they're in the same league, at least. So, one thing I've been pondering in relation to that is how far out did, because like I know that those shows were like, obviously season 1 of Daredevil like came out in like 2015. I think Jessica Jones came out like later that year, or something like that. And then season 2 of Daredevil came out, like a year and a half later or something. But bottom line, like, basically, I always been curious, like, how far back Disney had Disney Plus planned out before Marvel basically got the rights back to Daredevil and whatnot. Because if you remember what happened, Daredevil and the Punisher were both owned by Fox for like years and years and years and years. And that was when we got the that was when we got the Ben Affleck Daredevil movie, which I actually liked, but everyone else hated. Although it pales in comparison with, what we have now with the Charlie Cox Daredevil. But anyway, so Daredevil and the Punisher were in licensing hell, for years and years and years with Fox. Nothing was done with them. Up until basically Disney got them back and then made that deal with Netflix. And we got this series that we got. Right? Now, because Disney is, doing its own thing with Disney Plus, those, series basically got canceled because of Disney Plus. Like, that was the one thing that pissed me off. That was like the only thing that pissed me off about Disney Plus, was that we lost those 3 shows. And I know that some of you guys haven't seen those shows yet, so you might not understand, why I'm pissed off about that. But, go watch those shows and you'll understand. With that being said, and I know I'm kind of spitballing here, I have to wonder, like, how far back were they planning Disney Plus exactly? Because if Disney/Marvel made that deal with Netflix to basically give Netflix the Daredevil and, Punisher series, full well knowing that they had Disney Plus coming up, in just a few years, like, why did they give, those characters to Netflix knowing that, that they were going to get canceled anyway, right? That's my question. Or, or was Disney Plus even planned at that point? That's what we don't know. But, that's a huge disappointment for me, and I'll tell you why. Because right now, Disney Plus is playing it really safe with Marvel, right? Which they don't need to be playing it safe with Marvel. The Marvel franchise is doing good. And when I say that they're playing it safe, there's really nothing that appeals for like older, more mature. Well, I shouldn't say older, but there's nothing that really appeals for like, mature audiences that's like gritty. Like, the Marvel Netflix shows, like, they weren't like gratuitous, but they dealt with like adult themes, in like a very, mature way that, that made for good storytelling, right? It was like, Breaking Bad or something like that, right? Only with the superhero backdrop. right? As far as I know, they don't have anything, planned like that, for Disney Plus. They're playing it safe, like, I think TV 14 at max. And, you know, if Disney really wanted to, I mean, I guess they could make like Netflix a deal to get like, Daredevil back and whatnot, and like, continue on with Disney Plus or something. That's what I don't get, is why they didn't do that. And not only that, but now I guess Kevin Feige, who don't get me wrong, like 90% of what he's done with the MCU, I will agree is brilliant. But when he announced that, like they were canceling the the Netflix series, he also said that because they were canceling the Netflix series, that the Netflix series were also like no longer canon in the MCU, even though they had been prior to the launch of Disney Plus. And that's kind of what, that's like my one gripe. And I know it might be nitpicky, but damn, is it a big one? Because what? Because they could, like, if I were Kevin Feige, I would do one of two things, right? I would either, like, and Disney has the capital to do this, I'm sure, if they really wanted to. I would just, if I were Disney, let's be honest, Disney could still stronghold Netflix, right? Probably. Or strong arm them. I would strong arm Netflix, get the rights to Daredevil and The Punisher and Jessica Jones, basically the entire Netflix Marvel series, and I would move them to, Disney Plus, and I would continue on with Daredevil Season 4 and The Punisher Season 3, which is what they had been planning to do prior to the launch of Disney Plus. And I would just do that. So, I mean, yeah, that might be, like, I guess more mature content on Disney Plus, but, like, I think there should be a section for that. And and it's not like it's not like it's a porno or anything like that. Like, it's, like, yeah, it can get gratuitous and whatnot a little bit with violence, but it's like, it's Breaking Bad, levels of violence. It's not, it's not horrendous or anything like that. And for whatever reason, Disney Plus just won't go that far. Even though, like the people who are actually paying for Disney Plus, like legitimately are most likely, all over the age of 18 or something, or at the very least, they're old enough to enjoy that mature content. So, that's all I'm saying is, provide something for the older, fans too. So, I don't know. That's my one big gripe. I would rather have the Marvel Netflix shows on Disney Plus as opposed to, like, I am excited for, like, the Falcon and Winter Soldier series. That one I am excited for. I'm excited for, like, for the Infinity series, like, like What If, that whole thing. That sounds interesting. Vision and Wanda, no. Just no. I know that was a comic book in, like, the, 70s and 80s that was targeted towards young women. I mean, and I get that appeal, but, like, even female fans I know are kind of like, meh. on that one. So, could you please put one of the Netflix series in to replace that show, Kevin Feige? That's all I'm saying. So, there's still uncertainty somewhat in what Disney Plus is doing. We're not going to be getting anything until 2021, I don't think. And, so, I mean, for what we have right now, I would say that, like, $69, $70 is a good price. There are rumors that they might, jack up the price to $99 next year. If that's the case, they'd better be bringing in like a whole bunch more content, and they'd better be adding content more consistently, kind of like Netflix does. Because if they're charging us $99 per year and they're not giving us anything like new or not very frequently, I'm not going to be a happy camper, to put it lightly. So, anyway, that's kind of like my long-winded, that's kind of my long-winded rant on Disney Plus, so to speak. As far as like the Kenobi series goes, all I can say is I'm excited, and yeah, I know that there are delays, and yeah, I know that the words like Star Wars and delay usually mean panic, or like Star Wars and reshoots. I know that fans have, PTSD from those words. I get it. But if they are doing reshoots and whatnot on the Kenobi series, and they do it right, like Disney did great with the Mandalorian series, and obviously, like, Ewan McGregor is arguably a great actor, and he's a terrific Obi-Wan Kenobi. Like, Ewan's Obi-Wan Kenobi character reminds me so much of my late Uncle Gary. Just as far as like, warm, friendly, very kind, very brave, very wise. So Ewan's Obi-Wan Kenobi character means a lot to me personally, and I'm happy that he's coming back. And if they do him right, I don't mind the reshoots, honestly. And I'm hoping that they will do him right. So I'm looking forward to that. And I know a lot of people are. As far as like Marvel Secret Invasion goes, this one is like new. I don't know a lot about the series. Honestly, I am a little worried about that one because, I mean, basically, like a lot of the principal characters that like played a big part in the Secret Invasion comic book series from 2008, which I read, are basically like they were given their farewells in Infinity War. And also an Endgame too. That's what I meant. Like I suppose I mean it's a 12-year-old comic, so what am I really spoiling? But the synopsis is basically for Secret Invasion is that like Skrulls have invaded Earth, and they've been posing as like some of our favorite, like Marvel superheroes for like decades, right? Like some of our favorite heroes have always been Skrulls, and we just, we never knew it. Like that was kind of like the marketing premise of the Secret Invasion comic book. Well, it's been a long time since I've read this series, and I'm going to have to go back and reread it because I'm a little fuzzy on some details. But long story short, basically after the Marvel Civil War comic book series in 2006, that was when Captain America got killed off in the comic book series for close to 6 years or something like that, right? And Bucky filled in as Captain America. During that whole time, Tony Stark became director of S.H.I.E.L.D. because Nick Fury went into hiding, right? So Tony Stark was actually director of S.H.I.E.L.D. and Tony Stark was director of S.H.I.E.L.D. when Secret Invasion happened. And I can't remember the exact, what happened, but something happened with, Secret Invasion, and something within Secret Invasion, caused, Tony Stark to lose his, position as S.H.I.E.L.D. director and then become, a fugitive or something, right? And then, Captain America came back from the dead, at some point, and, there was something with him that was, critical to the original Secret Invasion story, right? And same thing with, Black Widow. So, all of the characters that are basically, gone now, in the MCU are critical parts of the Secret Invasion storyline, right? For the original comic book. So, I'm curious, what they're going to do to adapt Secret Invasion into a series on Disney Plus, right? They're going to have to basically rewrite the whole thing and make an entirely different story because I don't see how else they'll make a success, and that concerns me a bit. So, anyway, so that's just me kind of bitching about comics. I gave you a little bit about I gave you a little bit of everything tonight. A little bit about me ranting about current events and a little bit of pop culture. As far as what I've been listening to, folks, I've really been on a big Radiohead kick these past few weeks. Specifically, I've been listening to OK Computer, which is a terrific album. I never really got much into Radiohead, to be honest, up until this year, and I'm liking their stuff more and more, I have to admit. Also listening to R.E.M., which I've always loved R.E.M., so they're great. The Best Of collection is their best album if you're, if you're just getting started. Other than that, folks, I can't really think of anything to say other than thank you for listening to this long-winded podcast and listening to me ramble for the past hour or so. And I will be back on Saturday for the live stream at 10 p.m. Eastern. Don't know if I'm going to be having a guest or anything, so stay tuned for that. And ladies and gentlemen from all of us here at NGC Studios, have a good day or good evening whenever you're listening to this in the past, present, future hour. God bless. God, freedom, democracy in that order. And God save this great nation. I will see you, good folks, on Saturday at 10 p.m. Eastern Time on YouTube. And until then, God bless and God save this great nation. Hey there, folks. If you've made it this far to the end of the podcast, I'd like to thank you very much for listening to the show. You are the ones that make it possible for me to make an income from podcasting, and I greatly appreciate that. Just by listening to our show, you are helping us gain ad revenue. However, if you would really like to help support the show, I encourage you to please donate to the podcast and become a supporter of the show. You can head over to anchor.fm/Whitfield Report and click the support this podcast button and choose the amount that suits you to support the show. Or you can click the link in the show notes and it will directly take you to that page. If you can support the podcast, I really, really appreciate that. Anything that you can do to help out is greatly appreciated. Even if you can't afford to help financially support the podcast, I encourage you to please go on iTunes or Apple Podcasts or Stitcher and please leave this podcast a positive 5-star review. That really helps us out here at the Whitfield Report. Thank you for listening, and I'll see you next episode.